Hi, this is Alexander Scott, a member of LANS, presenting this week's edition of our updates. Before we begin, a reminder to please visit our website at jalans.org to view more party material, or follow us on social media. Our Twitter handle is @lands_JA. First, we will begin with the news surrounding the former US Ambassador Donald Tapia and comments he made about why Daryl Vaz has gotten back his US visa after his previous one was earlier revoked under suspicious circumstances. Now, on the 27th of September, Nationwide News reported that Daryl Vaz had got his visa back and carried an interview with the former US Ambassador Tapia, who claimed that the revocation of the visa was launched by the former National Security Minister Peter Bunting, who advised Mocha to investigate the now Minister Daryl Vaz. This was followed by an article in the Jamaica Observer, in which the former ambassador stated that a great wrong was done to Mr. Vaz by the US, who participated in this investigation, and in an attempt to cover up the, quote, witch hunt, unquote, inserted the waiver. There's a waiver on Mr. Vaz's visa, and it must be noted that the waiver states that Mr. Vaz is suspected of being connected in some way to narcotics trafficking. Now, when the National Security Minister, Horace Chang, was pressed on the matter, he stated to Nationwide that Mocha was not advised by any politician in any way to investigate anyone, and this statement was repeated by Mocha, who came out and refuted the allegations made by the former ambassador in a press release. Peter Bunting also came out and strenuously denied making any such requests to investigate Daryl Vaz or to leveling such accusations against Mr. Vaz. Now, this is a serious matter, and not because somebody has got their visa back or somebody got their visa taken away from them. That is small fry in comparison to everything else. We have a former ambassador making a serious accusation against our former minister, or former national security minister, in fact, a current senator, and the nation's security services. So these accusations are against the former national security minister and the security services. These allegations, if they are true, would not only spell the end of Bunting, that's prison work, but it would also destroy whatever remaining faith people have in the security forces, and it's not much. And that faith would be destroyed because they would be viewed as political agents, malleable political agents at that. However, with the allegations being denied by all parties, we must not only ask the ambassador what evidence he has to back up these serious claims, but we also have to question why he has raised them now. Why now as opposed to during his stint as ambassador? He had no problem making over-the-top comments then, so why now? It is not lost on us that the right-wing JLP has historically been the favored political party of the United States, and with the political climate in the region becoming more openly hostile to the left, it would not be a shock if they are engaging in the same or similar types of quote-unquote educational programs aimed to undermine the left regionally, which are attended by members of the Venezuelan and Nicaraguan opposition, for example. Lest we forget, this administration has been especially close to the US, and particularly former President Trump and his ideology. Whatever the reason, this interference by the US, this foreign interference by the US into our domestic affairs must be condemned and watched closely, especially as the US maintains its aggressive stance and goes on this aggressive path in the region, while it seeks to maintain its supremacy in what is becoming a multipolar world. Next, we turn to the nation's continued vaccine rollout. This week, the nation engaged in a race against time to use its batch of COVID-19 vaccines before they expired and would therefore need to be dumped. According to the Jamaica Gleaner, up to 60,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine were set to expire at 11:59 on the 30th of September, and as such, the government was seeking to have as many people as possible use them in order to either get their first shot or to be fully inoculated, get the second shot. In this attempt to have as many, if not all, the doses used, the Ministry of Health extended the opening hours for vaccine centers island-wide. The rush to use the vaccines before their expiration, however, was not successful, and as noted by RGR, thousands of the vaccines had to be discarded the following day, that is the 1st of October, after not being administered in time. Now, this event is very disappointing, as has been the response from the politicians who seek to lay the blame squarely at the feet of the people. The fact that these vaccines had the time to expire after we received them speaks volumes to our failed or non-existent vaccination education program. Far too many persons remain hesitant, and that is the fault, particularly of the state, which was late out of the blocks when it came to educating people on the need to be vaccinated, and is a state which is still not using all of its efforts to educate the people on this need. It also speaks to our failed logistics program. There are really credible reports of persons going for second shots and being turned back from centers which are saying that this is for persons getting first shots, and persons going for their first doses being turned back from centers and being told that this is for persons getting the second shot. This should not be happening in a nation which claims it is not only taking the pandemic seriously, but trying to reach the people to get them vaccinated. Finally, the expiration of the vaccines in such a short time speaks to the poor way we acquire the vaccines and who we get them from. We're getting the what left. That is, the donations from the EU and the US are the surplus to requirements, and that is why they are so close to expiration just a mere few weeks after we get them. I mean, even the doses that we are paying for to get are taking a long time to arrive because we as a country are not a priority purchaser. And in the free market environment where those companies operate, we as a country therefore fall on the back burner. We are a secondary priority, if a priority at all. This mess up, which is not happening for the first time, must be blamed on the government. Their failure to educate people to a point where they feel comfortable taking the vaccine has led to this low vaccination rate. And their blind loyalty to the West has seen us not only waiting ages to get, a proper amount of vaccines to do a full rollout, but also ignoring nations such as Russia, China, and Cuba, who all have vaccines and are more than willing to export to us. The government, which is fast losing the PR game, must increase the education program as well as seek other avenues to get vaccines and stop blaming the people for its failure if we are to get a hold of this pandemic. Finally, we will end with foreign affairs. On Saturday, the 18th of September, the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, otherwise known as CELAC, held its Heads of Government Summit meeting in Mexico City, Mexico. At the event, and as reported by Telesur, President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela called for the reactivation of the body's mechanisms to analyze the social, political, economic, and trade integration proposals. He went on to say, and I quote, "I propose the constitution of a CELAC General Secretariat with the sufficient power to take the reins of the construction of what is the dream of Latin America and Caribbean integration." End quote. Such calls were also made by the Bolivian representative, who stated that they would be supporting the call made by the Mexican president to have CELAC replaced the OAS as the body dealing with regional matters. Now, this meeting came amidst the backdrop of the Mexican president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, calling for Latin American and Caribbean nations to abandon the OAS and utilize different mechanisms in order to deal with the region's issues, specifically to the exclusion of the USA and Canada. Now, at the heads of government meeting, the Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit reserved special praise for Cuba, who have and continue to assist the region with medical personnel through even during the pandemic. And the meeting saw member states unanimously agree to a plan to see the region become self-sufficient in the area of health matters. China's leader Xi Jinping, who was invited by the Mexican president and host, gave a speech via video link in which he recalled the long history of Latin American and Chinese cooperation, and also noted that CELAC, which was formed to foster growth and integration some decade ago, has and continues to have China as a close ally in the project of uplifting the region. The setting of this CELAC meeting is an important event, and the call to abandon the OAS and pursue other organizations for regional integration is something we at LANS applaud and support. The OAS has been and remains a key mechanism which the US uses to undermine nations in the region that seek to walk a different path other than the one promoted by Washington. In fact, in the last few years alone, the OAS has supported the coup in Bolivia, the attempted coup in Venezuela, going so far as to recognize the coup-monger Juan Guaido's representative at the OAS, as well as attempting to destabilize Nicaragua. They are attempting to destabilize undermine the upcoming elections. The OAS remains a yoke around the neck of the region, promoting underdevelopment and keeping us at odds with each other as the US uses this body to divide and conquer nations within the region with promises of quote-unquote aid if they break ranks. And this was seen in a clear case when Cuba was expelled from the OAS, when Haiti switched its vote from opposing Cuban expulsion to supporting Cuban expulsion when it was promised aid that never came if they switched their vote. This promise was made by the US. Now, the ideas of economic, social, political, and trade integration can only be realized by abandoning the US and its organizations, as well as embracing the wider world. It means abandoning adherence to US policies. That is, for example, the only way Cuba, the nation which is showing us that another way is possible, can be properly integrated into regional bodies and given proper authority. And I'm not simply talking about a rotating presidency head. I mean actual authority sitting on regional bodies making decisions. This would also go a long way in relieving the pressure that Cuba is currently feeling under the illegal blockade. If regional nations were to break ranks with the US and engage in trade with Cuba, Cuba would be doing a lot better. The burden would be eased. And to that end, the presence of China is greatly welcomed, as they can and have shown to have an interest in regions remaining independent and free from US domination. We hope more of these events take place and look forward to the day when the OAS is abandoned and a new body, possibly CELAC, is used to deal with regional matters, free from US interference and free from imperialism. Once again, this is Alexander Scott, a member of LANS, and you've been listening to our weekly updates.